just so funny because when I was writing my birth story, I wrote Ella's, but I didn't even think to write Amelia's. Not that it's not important or relevant, because it is. It's my first baby.
Yeah, just the most recent.
The most recent one is so much more fresh in your mind.
But it's crazy because Amelia's is just so far from my mind because it's, almost been 4 years. Crazy, I know.
Amelia. Take 5, episode 4.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
Aloha.
Welcome to Talk to Us Mama, episode 4. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. 4.
Cool. So I'm going to tell my birth story today, and this is my first baby, Amelia, who's 3.5 now. And you guys have to bear with me because I don't really remember every single detail. I remember like the important things that, that'll stand out in my memory, but I don't remember like everything that happened. Ella's is so fresh in my mind, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do we start? So it's kind of a short one, but...
Well, how was your pregnancy?
Oh, my pregnancy was awesome! Oh my gosh. Okay, so first pregnancy, didn't have a lot of morning sickness, just like the normal nausea, 8 to 12 weeks. I wasn't very active, but I was working full-time, so I was working 40 hours in a very hot and busy kitchen. So I was active in that sense that I was standing all day, but I didn't work out a lot during my pregnancy. We went for duck pond hikes and stuff like that, but nothing like, very physical. Pregnancy was great. I had 0, complications. I basically was it was a very like low maintenance pregnancy, if you want to call it that. Just went to my appointments and, we did our thing. So I want to say I was 39 and 5 days I was 39 and 3 days and I went into labor. And I knew I was in labor because I had, I kept getting contractions and, like, for the record, you know how you were talking about Braxton Hicks? Mm-hmm. So I had the same thing my whole pregnancy, starting at, like, 16 weeks till the very end, I had Braxton Hicks. Wow. It was very, like, so I knew, I was like, okay, there was many times where I kept thinking, am I in labor? But there was no dilation. They checked me. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to check me. Yeah. My OBs were like not big on that. I don't know. No, they were like, if we check you, it doesn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. So basically, I had a lot of Braxton Hicks, and then the day that I went into labor, I just knew it. I was like, something feels different. Like I don't feel good. I feel tired. I feel sick. And I told Steve, I'm like, I think like today might be the day. So I called my mom, and my mom was in California in Santa Cruz, and the whole plan from the beginning of my pregnancy was that she would be there to labor with me because, it's a big deal, right? Yeah. So call mama, and we're like, hey, we think today might be the day, like you should probably start looking at flights. So my mom gets on a flight, and she's on her way here. She had to go to like Santa Cruz to Oregon to Colorado and then like over here. It was like a lot. It wasn't just like a direct flight, which it should have been. It was kind of crazy. Yeah. So we labor all day long. I mean, we're talking like 12 hours, at least 12 hours. And I'm just, I'm in labor. I know I'm uncomfortable, but they weren't consistent. So I would get them and they were really intense, and then they would taper off. So I was like, okay, things are happening. We should probably like get everything together, pack our bags. Our bags were already packed. I don't know who I'm kidding. I was told first baby, I'm like, everything needs to be ready.
Out,
no, it was totally planned out. So what did we do?
Go through that. Like, what do we need to do? But
what do we need to do?
Right,
everything was ready because, you want to be prepared. You've been preparing for it. It's so funny. So I remember, like, we went for a walk because walking made me feel really good. I wanted to move. We went to the ABC store, the Honolulu store. We got food. We went to Honolulu Bay. There's a picture of me.
Oh, I know the picture.
Yeah, and I'm like hugely pregnant. I have like swollen ankles, and I'm like smiling for the camera, but it's like such a like deceiving photo. It wasn't. I mean, I wasn't, but it was in a sense
I didn't
because
know that you were like in labor.
Oh, I was legit. I was in labor.
I remember the caption on that Instagram photo. Is like, this will be the last pregnancy photo, and I was like, oh yeah, it really will be.
It really will be, right? So I mean, we're literally like. It's this beautiful day. It's November, end of November, and there's actually a surf contest going on. I think it was the women's. I don't know what it's called, but they do it at Honolulu Bay every year, and so it's like day 2 or whatever. And Steve's like, "Let's go look at the surfers," and I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." Like, I'm gonna stay in the car. So I go back in the car. He goes and checks out the surfers, and things start to get like really intense. I'm like, we gotta go. Like, I'm like shouting like, Steve! And this guy's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm in labor. And he's like, I'll go get your husband. Steve knew I was in labor, but he couldn't, like, he didn't have his phone on him, and I'm sitting in the car just trying to like breathe through it. So anyways, he comes back, we go home, everything stops. So it's like, now nothing's happening. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I just spent like the last like 8 hours in like agonizing pain, but my labor has totally tapered off. So we go home, we like eat dinner. I don't even know what we ate that night. And then it's like 10:30 and things started to pick up again. So I'm like, we should probably go to the hospital. So it worked out beautifully. Like, my mom is finally on her way over to the airport, to OGG. And I'm like, I know what time she's going to land, which is like 11:33. I knew her flight lands. So we get in the hospital, we go, we pick up my mom, and it was crazy.
That's so perfect.
And by the way, my car ride was terrible.
Oh,
was
really?
it like
Oh, I had back labor, so I know you didn't. You did.
Yeah.
Okay, so back labor is like it's seriously the worst thing that could ever happen to you. I mean, it was so painful.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's the worst thing that could happen to you, but for me, it was
It feels
very
like it.
painful.
First time pregnancy, you don't know.
Dude, it was hard, and everyone warned me, like, oh, I hope you don't have back labor, so maybe it was that I put that in my mind. So I shouldn't say that. Maybe we can edit that out. But so we pick up my mom. I'm clearly in labor. My contractions are probably like 7 to 8 minutes apart. I'm not timing them. I just know that, like, I'm hurting. We need to get to the hospital. So we go in. They check us in, and they put me in a room, in like a labor and delivery room, and I'm not even 1 centimeter. And I was just like, are you freaking kidding me? I have been in labor all day long. Like, what do you mean I'm not?
So hard.
Yeah, and it was actually Dr. Kim was the doctor that was, I know.
Best doctor.
So he comes in and he's like, well, look, I know you live in Apili, which is an hour away. He's like, we can send you home, but if you're more comfortable, then you can stay here. And I was like, you know what? I've been in labor all day. I don't want to go home and then have to get right back in the car after, like, what I just went through with my contractions in the car. Let's just stay here. So we stayed, and my first nurse, like, I'm not going to say any names, of course not. I don't even remember her name. But it was like, she checked me for dilation and a second time, and it was just so uncomfortable. I literally, I felt like she was so rough with me. You know, she
not
just
like gentle.
No, and she had like these big sausage fingers, and it was like it didn't feel good at all.
It's like, why do you choose? I mean, no offense, but can't you choose like a delicate?
Like lubricate or something. She might have lubricate. I don't know, but I remember being like, dude, if this hurts, like, this whole thing is gonna suck.
Yeah.
But I had like my birth plan. I was very like set in my ways about laboring naturally and not having an epidural. Not that I have anything against them. That was just what I wanted for my first baby, right? So we labored and labored and labored. I think it was 5 hours later they checked me, and I was like barely a 3. And I was just like, are you kidding me? I've been like walking around this hospital like in so much pain, but nothing was happening. Like, it was just so slow. And we just did that for hours and hours and hours. And I remember finally things started getting like more intense. So they kept monitoring me, right? Like, they had I think it's called the NDT or whatever, where they monitor the baby. So they kept monitoring me, and she was totally fine. The baby was fine. I was fine. They kept coming in, and I think at one point, where I was about 5 centimeters, I had said, can you guys just like leave us alone? Like, I just want to labor. I don't want to be messed with. Like, just let me labor. You know, we'll hit the button if things start to like improve or whatever. And so they honored that. They were like, okay, that's fine. You know, as long as you feel comfortable basically walking around and doing your thing, then that's fine. So we labored and labored a couple hours more. And then I remember I just finally was like, I have to push. And they told me, they were like, you'll feel the urge to push, like, call us. So I had the urge to push, and we called the nurse, and they came in, they checked me, and she was like, you're 10 centimeters.
Oh my gosh.
Finally.
Yeah.
Oh,
amazing.
I should add, though, because I just forgot this, that okay, so between 7 and 10, so it was 7 centimeters, and that's when my water broke. And, but that didn't mean anything.
It broke on its own.
So my water broke on its own. I feel like I feel like I need to do this whole episode early, because again because I'm missing so many details.
Oh, I
This
felt
is
like
how it
that too.
goes.
So okay, so this is what happened. I know, right? So this is what happened. My water broke, and I remember before that they kept saying like, if we rupture your membranes, then it could speed things along. And so that was one of my reasons why I told them like, just leave, if the baby's fine and I'm fine, like please just leave me alone. So yeah, so they kept coming in there, I was like, I don't want you guys to mess with me. Like, please just leave me alone. We don't want the membranes ruptured for whatever reason, because my fear was like a C-section, which of course is a wonderful thing, but that wasn't what I had in mind. I didn't want that, right?
Yeah.
So so my water breaks on its own, and literally we like cheered. Me and my mom and Steve, we were like, yes. I think I was probably crying. I was so freaking happy. So my water breaks, and then it was probably another 3 hours before I got to 10 centimeters, which is a long time.
Yeah.
I get to 10, and they're like, okay, you're 10 centimeters, like, it's time to push or whatever, and it's like a set change, you know. I'm sure you guys know. They come in, it's like the light turns on, they like take everything away, they put you in the stirrups, and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is the real deal.
Yeah.
Like this is happening.
I think that's why I freaked out at that point.
You
probably
did?
Because of that like set change.
It's intimidating. Yeah, because especially because nobody tells you about that.
Yeah.
Nobody tells you like things are gonna, like the whole like pace and the vibe is gonna just completely change, right?
I mean, that's something that they can't tell you. Like the vibe is gonna change.
But it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
It honestly made me a little anxious, I think, but I was just like, I could feel, I could feel the weight of the baby's head bearing down, and so I knew, I'm like, okay, this is it. And that was like what came next was like really hard, because I didn't know how to push, I didn't know how to breathe. I had read all of the books, I had read all of the birth stories, and I still, in that moment,
once you actually get to it,
I forgot.
Yeah.
I literally was just like, I don't remember anything I read.
Well, it's also doing it is so different than reading about it.
Sure, yeah.
Because you can't practice.
Yeah, oh no.
I mean, you can practice breathing.
You
can practice something coming out of your...
Exactly.
But it's still different.
And that's what they say, too.
Yeah, I
Really?
did that. I used to breathe on the toilet.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, first baby, like, first whatever, I didn't know what to expect. And so I remember basically, like, they had the monitor hooked up to my stomach or whatever. And, they were looking at the screen, and so it was the same thing. They were like telling me, okay, like you're gonna get a big contraction, hold your breath, this is when you push. And we did that for like 2.5 hours, and nothing was happening. Like her head would come out, and you could see, so I didn't have the mirror, but Steve was like right there holding my leg, so her head would come out, and you could see the top of her head, like this little beautiful swirl, and then it would go back in.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then it would come out, and then it would go back in. And it literally did that. We did that for like 2.5 hours. And I just got like so tired. I think at one point my oxygen levels like started to drop, so they did give me some oxygen. And then after like 5 minutes of having that mask on, I was like, I cannot do this with this mask on. And I was like, please, like just only if I absolutely need it, because I can't, like I just can't do this, right? It's like hindering my progress. And then so I mean we just worked at it. Like every contraction I pushed, and I didn't have an epidural, so I could feel everything, but it didn't mean anything, because I just still, like, even though I could feel what was happening, it didn't benefit me in any way. I don't feel like, because because it's like, an epidural is you don't feel anything, unless in her case you did. But I still, like, I could feel the contractions, I could feel myself pushing, but it just didn't help me progress in any way. And we did that for, we're almost at like the 3-hour mark. And then finally, I don't know what, like something just snapped in me, and I got to this point where I was just like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting this baby out. And so, like, in my pushing part of my labor story, I remember the nurse saying to me, like, this is when you push, and I got to a point where I was like, can I push again? Like, so in each contraction, I was pushing twice, because I just wanted the baby out. And, the OB was great. She was, like, doing her thing, trying to, like, maneuver her fingers in my vagina, trying to get the baby's head out, basically. And then, once her head came out, her whole body came out.
Oh, yeah.
She came out right away.
Yeah.
Like, there was no, like, I had to, push again. It was just, like, head, body.
Wow.
And then it's crazy. I remembered being, like, so tired. One, because I had been in labor for
days.
Literally over 24 hours, like total. In the hospital, I had been in labor for 22, but I was in labor the whole day before that.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it was crazy. And then I remember that it was like almost like slow motion, and they took her out, and they like threw her on my chest. It was so crazy. It was just like boom, and I was just like,
it goes kind of.
It was really fast.
Yeah.
Like almost like you reach the finish line, right? And it's like boom, you like went through the, the road, whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, it's a human
on your chest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because if you hear Steve tell the story, he's like, it was like a scene from Braveheart, like blood. Because she was, there's blood involved. Like blood was like splattered all over me on my chest, and she was purple. I don't think she really cried. She was kind of just like Lila. She was just kind of like, wah. And they put her on my chest, and they had the towel, and they were agitating her. And I remember I like looked down at her, and oh my gosh, she was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen.
Oh.
But she was also so purple and so swollen. I think because, we've been in
the birth canal
for a really long time. Yeah, and she just was like, she looked like a UFC fighter at the end of a round. But I remember looking at her like, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. And I think I even said to her like, it is so nice to finally meet you. And she kind of just like looked up at me, and she was tired. I was tired. Like we were both like literally we both looked at each other like that was crazy.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Well,
I can't.
then let's nap.
Yeah, pretty much. And then I remember like the whole breastfeeding thing. I was just I don't even remember the cord, any of that. Like I don't remember if we let it pulse out, which was part of my like birth plan.
Yeah.
Like let it pulse out, this and that. And I remember they just latched her, and I was just like, this is crazy. And I was so happy. It was just beautiful.
Oh.
But then it kind of got gnarly after that.
Yeah.
So they put her on my chest, and we're nursing, and everything is good. And then shit gets kind of real. So I think they took her away to weigh her and, like do the eye ointment and clean her up. They asked me, like, do you want a bath for her? I'm like, no, we're going to do the first bath at home. The Vernix can be good, is good.
Yeah.
And then I started... okay, I should backtrack a little bit. So I had, because of how she came out or however long I pushed, I had pretty severe tearing. And I didn't know that, but obviously the OB knew that I had tearing. So she said, you tore, I don't know what it is yet, but we're going to have to stitch you up. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I don't care. Like, just give me my baby. I'm good. So she starts stitching me up, and I remember her saying to me, like, if you feel a gush of blood, let me know, this and that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever, like, we're good. I got my baby in my arms. And then all of a sudden, this nurse who had kept coming in during the pushing part of my labor, but I was just ignoring her. She kept opening she kept coming in the door, opening the curtain, and I could tell that something was going on, but I just totally put that back seat as I was in the pushing part of labor.
Yeah.
So anyway, she comes in and she says something to the OB. And the doctor's just like, I'm so sorry, but I have to go. And I'm like, okay, like, whatever, I don't care. I got Amelia, like, we're good. Meanwhile, she had already started stitching me, but she hadn't finished. She didn't complete the task. And I remember just being like, whatever, like, I don't care, this is fine. So she leaves, and she had to deliver an emergency C-section, because it was like a wonky night in the hospital. Like a bunch of weird things were happening. Like people kept coming in, and there was someone that didn't know she was pregnant that also was in labor. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, someone that like had no clue she was pregnant. Yeah, and I actually know
I think
her.
about that all the time.
Yeah. But it's crazy. So the girls they literally have the same birthday, but she didn't know she was pregnant, and obviously I did. I mean, I was massively pregnant. But that's not the C-section. She also had her baby, but there was somebody else whose baby needed an emergency C-section. So she leaves, and I'm like, whatever, that's cool. She comes back 45 minutes later. I mean, as you guys all know, you're already swollen from delivery, but you just keep swelling after.
Yeah.
It's trauma.
Yeah.
That's trauma to your vagina. Yeah, so she comes back, and I'm still on cloud 9. I don't even care. And she, I think she put in a, what's it called when they do the for your urine.
Catheter.
Catheter, that's right, thank you. So she does a catheter. She's like, it'll just be easier because I need to do some stitching. I'm like, whatever, it's fine.
Oh, I just remembered that feeling.
The catheter?
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't feel
You didn't?
No.
That's awesome. So the catheter, I don't really remember. I remember she numbed me before she had left for the emergency C-section. She had numbed me, and then she comes back 45 minutes later, and she starts like, she does the catheter, and then she starts stitching me, and I'm like, okay, ow, that kind of hurts. So I think she numbed me, she gave me a numb shot again, like a second one, and she starts doing her thing, and everything's fine, we're good. She says to me, she looks at me, and she says, if you start feeling like a gush of blood, you need to let the nurses know. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. So I'm laying there, I'm nursing Ella, my placenta is like on a table, I can see it. Like literally I can see it. Yeah. And I'm eating a slice of Whole Foods pizza, which is cold because it had been there for, I don't know, like 9 hours, but I was so hungry. I was like, just give me that damn pizza. I'm eating the pizza, I got my baby, and so sure enough, like I started to feel a gush of blood, so I let the nurse know, and then OB comes back and she says, well, you have a blood clot, so I need to remove it. So she stuck her whole hand in my vagina to pull out a blood clot. And that didn't feel good.
Oh my god.
No.
I was just saying earlier, to have a whole, I've never had a whole hand in my vagina.
I have.
Never have I ever.
Never have I ever.
I feel like to have a whole hand inside of your vagina, whether you're pregnant or, like, outside of birth and everything, would be uncomfortable. But after giving birth and you're swollen and everything's going on, that would be insane.
It was insane.
Like,
after being stitched, too.
The thought of putting anything, like a tampon or anything up there is just like...
Nothing should go in there after a baby comes out. Let's just say that.
For a
long time. Right, unless you absolutely need to, which in my situation.
Especially a hand.
I know. So she stuck her hand in there, she pulled it out, and I grabbed her arm because I was in so much pain. I was just like, she's like, are you okay? I'm like, no. But I was. What can you say? What can you do? There was like nothing that could be done. She just needed to do it. Yeah, please take your hand out of me. I probably bruised her arm because I grabbed her arm so tight. I guarantee I bruised it.
Which I'm sure you just tensed you up
again, which is going to make things worse because instead of being relaxed, I was just like super tense, like oh my gosh, this hurts. And so she removed the blood clot, and I don't honestly, she might have done more stitching. I don't know what happened, but it was really bad. And then it was probably like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I told my mom and Steve, like, you guys could go home. I'm gonna recover and do my thing, and so they went home, and I went into I went into recovery, and it was pretty mellow.
You had a whole room to yourself?
I had a whole room to myself, which was beautiful. I think the second night Steve stayed with us. So the first night I sent him home, and then the second night, I don't want to say like the second night, but like it was 24 hours because they have to keep the baby for 24 hours for like genetic testing. Mm-hmm. So that next night he stayed with us, and he probably didn't sleep. I didn't sleep. It was awesome. Hospital food sucks.
Yeah.
But the nurses, do you have a good experience?
Oh my gosh, my nurses were amazing. Like other than the first, the one who was like finger banging me with her thumbs. Is that TMI?
No, it's not.
But she did.
No,
she was just like, you like that? I'm like, no, please get your fingers out of me.
Oh my god.
Dude, she hurt me, you guys. But honestly, in hindsight, she prepared me for like everything.
Oh my god.
Yeah, she was very like aggressive, and I'm so happy that like her shift change was probably like maybe an hour after we had been admitted, which is good.
Oh my god.
Yeah, she had
gave you that preparation, and then she just
and then she left, and I was like, I don't want to see that. I literally, I was there for so long. I had 3 nurses. That's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot.
Because if you think about it, they switch every 12 hours.
So,
yeah. So one had switched, and then But I remember my labor and delivery nurse. Leah. She was amazing. She was amazing. Yeah. We were like, should we name this baby Leah? Because we were awesome.
That's sweet.
Amelia.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's my birth story.
Amelia.
Yeah.
Amelia. I know. But Amelia is actually on our list of names, so.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love Amelia.
She's pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'm happy I got that off my chest because I feel like I've told the story, but it's just been so long.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Feels good to go
Just
over it
remember
again and
everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
And just
Like
remember
you're
that.
reliving it a little bit.
Yeah, you
I know.
you get through it, and everything's worth it. Even
Oh yeah.
the whole hand up there, like
Literally,
you got through it.
Oh, I literally
That's the
remember
worst
when we
thing.
were home, I said to Steve, like, I
never
never
do that.
I honestly, we were so, I mean, I'm sure you guys both know, like, you're so high on endorphins,
Oh,
or
so
oxytocin, I should call it. You're
Yeah.
so high on oxytocin after you have a baby. Like, when we got home, we were like, oh my gosh, like, let's do that again, which is crazy.
Yeah.
After everything I endured.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we looked at each other. My mom was like, what?
Yeah.
We were like, we can't wait to like have like I don't know. It's just
That
a partnership. It was
That's so
that
funny.
bond that we like shared. Like that brought our marriage to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Pushing a baby out together,
Yeah.
like that's so special
That's so funny. See,
That's
it
cool.
took me like a couple months to
to feel that.
to feel that, and
Yeah.
now I feel it so strong, and it's
Yeah.
just been ever since. But like the first couple months, I'm like, I don't feel like I want to
Wanna
do that again.
Yeah, it's
Even though I had like an amazing experience, but
Yes.
now I'm at the point where I'm like, let's do it
Yeah.
again.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Who
wants
wants
a
your
baby?
baby's a year?
Yeah.
I feel like those same thoughts swirled through my head
Yeah.
when she was a year. I'm like,
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, I'm so busy. I'm not ready.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember we were like, yeah, we can't wait to do that again.
That's
Mhm.
Obviously, hopefully with a
That's a
different
good sign.
outcome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. But that's how you know. That's how we knew that we wanted more kids. I think
Yeah.
early on, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And that will be the next episode.
That will be the next
Mhm.
episode. Is Ella's
Baby
birth
number
story.
2.
Yeah. Can't wait to tell that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for Ella's birth story,
Yeah.
episode 5.
Craziest
So
birth
fun.
story
Yeah,
I've ever heard.
it's fun to talk about that one because it's short and sweet, but like a lot of things happen
Yeah.
very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
3-way
High
high
five.
five.
Let's do it.
1, 2, 3.
Boom. Oh,
Nailed it.
hardly. I think I went this way.
You kind of like came in.
I
from
think
a
I
angle.
should have just gone
Like,
straight.
ooh, that's a technique.
I know.